Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of your Frederish podcast. My name's Gary, and here I am one more time, once again, with you guys. Today, we are going to talk about something that, there's literally no excuse today for you to say, I don't relate to this topic. Really. That is urban legends. No matter where you are from, where you grew up in, there are always a handful of local or national urban legends that you heard about, or maybe even you told your friends about when you were younger. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So please go grab your cup of coffee, tea, beer, whatever it takes for you to relax, because it is a sunny and chilly day. I don't know if you guys can notice, judging by my voice, but it's kind of scratchy today. And of course, no surprise, it's sunny. It's an interesting, fine weather, but nevertheless, it's still the fall. It's still cold. So that's it. Without further ado, just go grab what I said and come back for me. Come back to so we can talk about today's topic. Well, urban legends are stories. In case you haven't understood, you haven't figured out what this means, right? So, are legends that are invented, of course, just like all legends, by regular people. Usually, not to say always, and these stories being contained inside a city context, something happened in the place, the community, or in the neighborhood, or in a city or town, where locals were around. Some of them even allegedly witnessed the situation. And there are just simply all kinds of all sources and all kinds of stories. Okay, from ghosts to rapers. This is not a good word to use because the internet doesn't like it very much. If it's on YouTube, just hope that they will give us a pass. But anyway, this is basically what it is. Scary stories. Stories about bad people or evil entities involved in stories where usually there is blood involved, to say the least. All right. As I said, there are, of course, multiple stories and versions of these stories, but I brought for today from an article I found on internet from Super Interessante magazine about the 7 most popular Brazilian urban legends. But before we go there, I would like to share my personal views, just like I always do, right? I'm a believer in terms of spirituality. I believe life after death and all these things. I believe in good and evil and all these things. It's probably no surprise for you guys when I say that, right? But I'm kind of skeptical when it comes to these stories. I dare to say, just let me know if you disagree, just like usual. But I dare to say that 99.9% of them are fake, okay? And if they are real, they're not 100% real. There are things that literally cannot be real, okay? Nevertheless, okay, apart from that, they're fun. I have a kind of a nostalgic, don't judge me guys, please, but a kind of a nostalgia comes up to my mind when I remember, the stories told by the fire when I was with my friends or family. My family wasn't much of apart from my grandfather, no one else would be, much interesting in storytelling, especially scary ones. But he was, so I had a couple of stories come from him, about urban legends or horror stories, but not as many as I would say, normal person. I mean, when I say that, I mean like my family is an exception, okay? But all my friends would tell me stories about werewolves, vampires, as I said, I heard a couple from my grandfather. For example, my grandfather, to the present day, he still believes that sacis existed. For example, he tells us stories, that are really, macabre. And I was like, oh my god! I mean, it doesn't seem to be making this up, okay? Although I don't necessarily believe these creatures existed, but like there was something, some entity or something behind those, those things that he mentions in his stories, So yeah, this is the point, okay? I bring here. So most of the urban legends I know about come from my friends, okay? That they say that they heard from their grandparents, okay? So yeah, there's some local stories, but there are the most popular ones. Some of them we will contemplate here in today's episode. But I would like to hear from you, okay? Feel free to write down in the comments section below, and let's just check it out. Just without further ado, let's check it out. First one, knives hidden inside Fofon's doll. Fofon's doll, okay? If you don't know what Fofon is, you're probably young. But if you're 33, 35 or older, you know exactly who this character is. It is basically a doll that was famous on TV. Yeah, guys, back in the days, these things were really the fever, or really the cool thing out there. And there was this character, Fofon. It wasn't supposed to be scary. It was supposed to be cute, but for some freaking reason, I don't know why, it was pretty scary. I didn't like watching it. My generation, when people of my age, 34, 35, just got the last straw of it, basically the last little bit of it. Because when I was like a little older, I don't believe this airing on TV anymore. But it was very popular and famous in the 80s, even to a point where there were dolls that were sold, his dolls, okay. And then this strange and even cynical urban legend start flowing around. People started talking about it, that there were knives, that the vertebrae, quote unquote, of the doll was a knife, okay, or 2 or 3 knives inside of it. Some people swear to everything they trust the most that this is true, okay. But of course, no such thing was ever proved. If it were, there would be lots of problem for the company, producing that, of course. So it's probably not true, like 100% certainty it's not true. But it was cool to say that, one thing that really facilitated this story to grow exponentially was that the fact that during the 80s, well, it wasn't everybody who could afford, to buy such things, like tolls that I have no idea the price. First, because it wasn't exactly my generation. My generation kind of just got, as I said, the last of it. But because we were really poor when we were kids, so there was no chance my mom would, even my parents would even dream of buying, dolls that expensive to us. Again, I didn't check the price, but I'm sure, I know how these things are. I'm a parent, I'm a father. I know how dolls are expensive today, let alone in the 90s, in the early 90s, when I was a kid. So, and this is exactly when this urban legend starts spreading around. And it wasn't everybody who had one of these, and people who had money to buy these things wouldn't even care about such stories. So this is, in my opinion, the reason, the factor that favored the spreading of this urban legend. Brazilian urban legend number 2. Xuxa made a pact with the devil. Yeah, I didn't get it wrong. That's it. Xuxa, the queen of the shorties, as they would say. Again, if you don't know who I'm talking about, I mean, it's not likely anyone would not recognize Xuxa. Okay, I'm not talking about the swimmer. I'm talking about the woman, the TV host and stuff. She was known as the queen of the shorties, queen of the kids, because she was very, very popular. And this is totally my age. Okay, I grew up watching her. I would really love her when I was a kid. My sister, my cousins, everybody. So yeah, she was really something in the early 90s, in the mid 90s, and even in the late 90s. She's still pretty famous, but not as a kids person anymore. It's more of a celebrity, who we don't know what she does. If you're like in your 20s, you're probably gonna go like, okay, I know who you're talking about, but what does she have to do with kids? I mean, that's it. That's the summary. Okay, like she was totally into kids, basically, in terms of her shows were for kids, her CDs were for kids. Everything she did was directed to the children. Okay. So where does this conspiracy theory come from? Okay, no one knows, of course. If I knew, there wouldn't be a conspiracy theory. It would be a crime. I don't know, or a slandering case. But anyways, I I literally grew up like, and again, let me just put some context in here, guys. I grew up in the 90s. There was no Google. Okay, I mean, at least not in Brazil. And it just, like, to say that there was Google in Brazil is like after 2009. Before that, like, we practically didn't have Google, and then in the 90s we literally didn't have Google in Brazil. In the world, it came out like a few years later. So my point here is, like, it wasn't easy to check out stuff. People started saying things. In Brazil is a very religious based country, like, no matter if you don't go to church, if you don't read the Bible, you believe these things. So these stories, like, spread and get strengthened, so to say, and get bigger and stronger, quote unquote, very, very easily in Brazil. All right. There wasn't any evidence, the clear. First of all, we don't even know. I don't believe such thing exists. I mean, I believe that there are pacts with entities, but like with the devil himself, like, come on, he's probably got something more important to do rather than be signing contracts for souls of one or two people out there. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. So yeah, I wouldn't just say that, well, I don't believe she ever did anything related to rituals of black magic or something like that, because we know that artists are into it, everywhere, not only in Brazil. Even one of our former presidents were into them, if you're old enough to remember. So why would I just like go like, oh no, this is certainly not true, in terms of nothing related to evil magic, or at least the ones that we perceive as so, right, as being black magic, as being evil. Maybe she did these things and she doesn't understand it like that. She thinks like, okay, that's just an entity. It's not necessarily okay. Maybe she has a different understanding of that. But truth of the matter is that Brazil has got an understanding like that. Recently, the famous singer Anitta, she revealed that she's into Candomblé, which is an African religion, right? And I didn't check, but I heard that she lost like a couple of 100,000 followers, because just by saying, hey, I am openly into this religion. So you see today, 2024, let alone in the 90s, how the prejudice was big over, such religions. But I'm not here to judge or say, oh, this is good or bad, I'm just saying that, like, okay, if you ask my opinion, if I had to take a guess, I would say, okay, there is something there spiritual behind, that she did. I have absolutely no idea how much it has influenced in her success. That it's not possible to say, like I don't necessarily believe. I think that she's talented in her way. She's not a good singer, she's not a good actress, but she's a charismatic person, and she got where she got, purely because of her talent, just to make it very clear, right? But if there were something else, I wouldn't know. I would say yes if I had to take a guess, right? But it was very interesting because we all grew up. It was like a common sense for people, like, oh no, she made a pact with the devil. And some people would say, like, if you get her disc, her vinyl disc, if you just start moving it reverse, if you reverse it, if you start moving it anti-clockwise, you could hear a few hidden messages in there, satanic hidden messages. None of this has ever proved true. I have uncles who say that they did that back in the days, but they never showed it to me. So I was a kid; they wouldn't anyways. But when next time I meet them, I will ask that just out of curiosity, like, "Hey, is it really true? Did you really get it?" I never saw it. On YouTube, I googled it. I checked it a few times in the past decade, and I never found anything. So it's probably not true. In terms of the disc, the vinyl disc reversed would show some hidden messages. That just simply ain't true. Urban legend number 3, Brazilian urban legend number 3, the chupacabra. Well, I think that had this chupacabra thing come, say, in the 60s or in the 50s, it would be, or even earlier, it would have been a folkloric character, not considered an urban legend. The problem, quote unquote, for chupacabra is that it came like in the 90s, in the late 90s, as far as I remember. Okay, maybe there were stories before that, but it got really popular in the 90s, or in the late 90s, in the early 2000s. And there was TV back in the days. There was an embryo of internet back in the days, and then people would check the sources and would just, get to the conclusion that most of them were BS. Forgive my French here, guys. But apparently, if you don't remember, if you never heard about it, it was a kind of a vampire, okay, according to the stories, that would feed on sheep, and mostly, or farm animals like that, but mostly sheep, goats, and the chupacabra would come from the fact that, cabra, goat, in Spanish. It's not only in Brazil, by the way, hence the name. That's why I'm saying chupacabra and not trying to translate that into English, because in English you will get this name for research. It's a kind of a Latino monster, vampire. Which probably made a lot of people proud. I don't know why, but go like, oh, we have a vampire of our own, like, who, go figure it out, right? Why people are like that. But anyways, so this vampire would just like feed on these animals for their blood, of course. And the curiosity is that they wouldn't leave, according to the stories, a single drop of blood in the body of their victims. I don't remember having heard or seen anything like there was attack involving humans. It was always animals. It would be always animals. So yeah, the curious thing is, like, we never ever heard about it anymore. Like, it was just like that hype, and then it it just disappeared. So either something happened in the spiritual world, they had these demons exercised, or it was a BS, a complete lie from the very beginning. Yeah, I stick more with the second option. Brazilian urban legend number 4, the blonde in the restroom, in the bathroom, in the school bathroom, or whatever kind of a public bathroom you could choose, right? The blonde of the bathroom, basically. Well, this is the most famous. It even became movie recently. And yeah, honestly, I didn't hear that much in my school times, but I heard that a couple times. A blonde, in the bathroom. Allegedly, the story says that there was this girl who had a was skipping classes from school, and then she was in the bathroom skipping classes and she died, and she, as a punishment, she was punished to stay in the bathroom for like a century, and she's still there. And then when people are there skipping classes, or the students are skipping classes, she knows that, of course, because she's a spirit. She died for this very same reason, and she tries to alarm people, attacking them or chasing them away, so they don't do the same, so they don't end up there with her. Like, it's a kind of a urban legend with the morality behind it, and it's a clear made up story, made up by a fed up and crazy, why not, teacher or principal who was like trying to find a way for kids, not to skip classes anymore. This is simply that. Brazilian urban legend number 5, the man of the bag. Well, this I heard a lot, and there was in my city, in my neighborhood, there was a man who would just pass in front of my house day in, day out, with a big bag on his back. It was a honest, hardworking guy, man. So there was absolutely nothing wrong with him, but my parents would use that old and thank goodness not used today strategy, that is scaring the kids with something that is really scary. Like, you're gonna be kidnapped by the man of the bag. The man of the bag, he walks around with a bag, in quotes, because they're kids, kids that didn't behave properly. The parents give them away to the man of the bag, so that's why you should behave properly when you're a kid. Like, I understand. Again, it's the world was different back in the days, but that's not right. That's not the best way to do things. But parents would do that anyways, and that I heard a lot. Until I grew up and I realized that the man of the bag in my neighborhood was a hardworking and good man, and then I didn't feel scared anymore. But thank goodness he lived, off the myth for me. But had he died or moved, I would just like stick with that and go like, oh my God, there was a, even today I would be like, okay, I don't believe, but there was a strange man in my neighborhood. I would just keep the scared memory, so to say, that I made, that my parents helped making, in my mind, in order to make me obey. And it worked. That I can tell. Brazilian urban legend number 6, the Clowns Gang. Well, this is I have to confess, I never heard about it, okay? So I'm just passing along what I read on the super interesting article. It says that in São Paulo there were a few stories going around that a clown killed people in the 60s and the 50s. A man dressed as a clown, of course, and then. These stories, in the United States, okay, first of all. And then these stories became very popular. And they did, in fact, even Stephen King wrote a book, The Thing, okay? Which I never saw, by the way, but I will. I want to. But then apparently in São Paulo there is a story of a gang of clowns. They would just go out attacking and killing people randomly. This was certainly made up by parents for their teenager kids, like for their teenaging kids. Like, don't go out at night, if you go, come back home as early as you can, because the clowns gang is out there, like, I don't know. Some of the parents even got to believe that, and we know today that this is not something so crazy, because people to commit crime may just dress up as whatever they want to, and so but that's an interesting urban legend. I have to admit, I had never heard in my whole life. until I read this article. Brazilian urban legend number 7 and the last for today's episode is the baby devil. Okay, it even came out in a newspaper in the 70s. There was this baby that was born in São Paulo, born with tail and horns. Okay, but of course, probably there was only the coccyx that was like, there's this thing, I don't remember the name, kind of a condition in which the coccyx, which originally were tails, okay, in our evolutionary system, they grow a little bigger, considerably bigger than the usual, and it becomes a kind of a little tail, but very little, nothing devilish or anything like that. So probably because of a situation like that, someone just added a couple of horns in the poor baby's head, and just say like, hey, it's the devil reborn. Much of it's certainly attached to the Antichrist figure. Like, again, going back to what we were talking about before, Brazil is very religious and very naive. At the same time, I'm not saying religious people are naive or vice versa. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's a dangerous combination, being naive people and religious people. There's usually some conflicts, and I can be sure that this story came from there. And this is it for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for your company. I hope I haven't scared and spoiled your weekend. Okay, let's go. Let's laugh about it. It's just urban legends, not real. Okay, don't forget that. And I wait for you guys in the next episode.